What's up, Swing Trader Snacks here. We're going to jump into our watch list for Monday, October 20th, and I'm excited here. We're going to do a bit of market breadth as well, take a look under the hood, do a bit of sector analysis, just get a big picture of where maybe we could go, or look for some strength and weakness, some warning signs that are out there. But, as far as how we close the week here, let's jump into the SPY, and we're still in that range that we talked about all week needing to break out of. Look, if I were to lean one way or the other on last week's price action, I would have to favor bullish, but, we're still in that range, right? We're still neutral. Certainly are still neutral. But I would have to say I'd lean a little bullish. Just, that was a good chance there to break this thing down for the bears, and they just couldn't get any follow through. I've got a few new charts here, mostly Bootcamp guys. I'm going to share these with you. I kind of teased it in chat the other day. Some new ways of monitoring market breadth. It's really nothing new than what we've learned so far, but it's just, I think, a more intuitive way of viewing it, monitoring it. So we'll get into that briefly here, but Bootcamp guys, we're going to do a session on that this week, and I'll give you guys all the links to the charts that I have built out for you. So let's jump over to the weekly here on SPY and identify what we did, right? We put it in a doji. Indecision, neutral candle, equal body to wick, top and bottom. It's indecision candle, and we did not, I would say, make a new low, right? So it's got to be a slight win for the bulls, okay? And if we can get continuation, futures is looking good. If we can get a continuation here, this is what I'm looking for, is a break of this neckline, okay, and a push towards high. But also more specifically, I might take quarter size positions if we can break this on strength, on volume, some things I'll show you in the market internals charts that I've been using a bit more recently. I've been testing them for months now, and I'm ready to share them with you guys. But anyways, look, the other scenario, or where I would really roll into, you guys know how we do ABC risk profile, right? We've been C all week, okay? We tried to bump into a B minus. I took a position. I was able to make some money, very much so due to those market internal charts that I'm going to show you. But look, so we might, if we're in C, if we pop out of this range, then maybe we roll into C plus, B minus, maybe take like a quarter size position, begin getting slight exposure. But what I'd really like to see now is a break to all-time highs, pullback hold in that, and we'd be buying that, moving up to likely an A risk profile. There are some big things this week. We've got Tesla earnings is a big one. That's Wednesday after close. We've got the policy update coming from the Fed, 99% chance, I guess you would put it. It's at 99% that they do cut rates again, so that is what the market is expecting, and I believe that is Wednesday as well. Let's see here. Yes, correct. Wow, Wednesday's a big day. And then we've got on Friday, because of the government shutdown in the U.S., we've not had any data coming out, economic data, but Friday they have announced that they will be releasing the inflation report, the CPI, on Friday. So I do still expect some volatility, and we're not going to get crazy position size-wise this week, and that is why I would much prefer, listen, guys, if we're going to get a pump, if we're going to get a move, a push to highs, a strong Q4, right, a rally into end of year, then this would be a first move in that. And you guys know that we look for a trend to establish and then hold structure. So right now we're going sideways, right? So we want to reestablish the trend, pull back, hold structure, show positioning, and push back up. And then we'd be buying that. It would be another triple R on the indice. So we don't need to rush, okay? We don't want to get chopped up. That's why we were very light last week. I did take 2 small positions, and I wound up making a little bit of money on them, but we're cautious, okay? If we get a breakout, it's okay to remain cautious and get the confirmation, right, that we are back on trend. We're getting follow through. That's really what we want to see. I don't mind not fully positioning into the breakout, guys. The first pullback, hold, show strength, and a higher low, pushing back higher, yeah, okay, we're likely going to put on some full size positions into a move like that. So guys, don't force anything. Don't feel rushed. We've got a good look here. The bears were not able to break it down, but we are still in mid-range for pretty much all of our indices, right back at that prior all-time high level. Mid-range, guys, RSP, IWM, not the best look out of the indices. We broke out and pretty much retraced that whole move. I'd like to see this get moving again. So if we can get back over this yellow line, prior all-time highs, break back out of this box, that would be an attractive look for small caps, or risk on, really, is the way that I view it. We've got crypto. I need more, obviously, but decent reaction off the 200. If you consider all of this noise, we put in a higher low. But structurally we're okay, but I certainly need to see some follow through. It would also just help to suggest that risk on appetite going into end of year. And then a couple things, I'll show you these charts real quick, guys. This is our stocks above 250-day moving average. The gray line, as always, is my 200, and the blue line, as always, is my 50, right? So a little bit of a concern here with the 50 getting below, but if we can reverse and get back above, and as well get the 50 back above the 200, that would be attractive. Something we're just going to have to wait and see how it plays out. And then we've got our high-low index here, right? Stocks making new highs, new lows. And we've got our zero line, which we've dipped just below. So there is still caution in the market, right? But if we can reverse quickly, as we have in recent history, as we've been doing really since the tariff lows, we just don't want to see a scenario where we start hanging out below it too much, right? We want to see a quick reversal back above the zero line here, and then we've got the SPX, the market here, with some anchored VWAPs, and we're still above the entirety of that grouping right here of anchored VWAPs. And we've got different reference points where, guys, we'll talk about this in Bootcamp. Something else, guys, I would like to reference here, back to the weekly. If we look at some similar price action, back here in late July, we had an all-time high break followed by a bearish engulfing on the weekly. And then we put an inside week on that bearish engulfing. Very similar price action to what we're doing here today. So, right, you've got the change in character, possibly, which didn't confirm. And we put in an inside indecision week. And I mean, guys, that is the trade. All right. Do we break high or low of this week's candle on the markets? But specifically the SPY we'll look at as the market. So, guys, that's a trade. Okay. It's really just that simple. And if we can break it to the high side, then we're going to look for a push to year end, as long as market environment stays stable. Trump walked everything back, right? The taco trade might be on. He walked all China statements back. Things are looking positive for that. We've got a rate cut coming this month. We'll see how the CPI data looks. As long as we have signals that inflation is slowing, continuing to slow, then I do, as I've been saying here for a while, I do expect a push into year end, which we will be positioning for, likely doing quite well on our RRR setups. Real quick, let's jump through some of the ETFs. Let's go back to the daily chart. Look at some of these things. Some stand out, some don't. I'm not going to run through the entire list here. I've got another chart, Bootcamp, that it's a really great way to look at these at a glance, and I keep it on a side screen. But look, what is concerning to me is financials, right? This breakdown in financials is not very attractive, but we did, if you want to consider this the most recent low, maybe it looks a little more attractive on the weekly, right? So we put in a higher low here. So if we can get back into range and look to push, then that would be attractive. We had some issues with regional banks, which I've not finished reading into, but it is concerning. We want to make sure that that's not going to become more of a concern. The major banks reported earnings this past week. Many of them did, and those were quite positive. Not the best reaction to them, but I think that was weighed a little bit by the regionals. So we're going to look for this guy to get back into range. Let's slip back to the daily here. We want this guy back in range. I do have a couple of financial or bank plays that I'm interested in taking on RRR setups this week. Tech is another one that we want to keep an eye on here, right? We want to make sure that we are holding this range and possibly pushing to the upper end of it and maybe breaking out. Communications is another one as well. We're sort of getting a RRR setup here on the communications sector. We want to see this thing hold to 50 and get back onto trend. Clearing, what is that, Wednesday, Thursday highs would be a good look there. Real estate had a strong week. This is something we do want to begin having on our radar as well. We've got another rate cut coming. So if this guy breaks out of range, we're certainly going to be looking at real estate companies and targeting top of range. Maybe we're even able to get into something slightly longer term. Maybe we have some attractive pricing on some leaps in the real estate sector. That would look something like Comp, Rocket, Zillow. I'm not playing the damn open door. I'm not doing it. I got out of Comp a few weeks back, but if we can get back over the 200, I could see a higher low here that might be attractive. Maybe again, a little better looking. Yeah, better looking here on the weekly. So you could get a triple R trigger here on the weekly. Wow, that's actually quite attractive to me here as we look to possibly put in an IPO cycle, changing character on volume, making higher lows, respecting structure. Look at that. That's going to go on the list, actually. We're going to do comp is our main watch here on a weekly triple R trigger. That would be a retracement, reaction at around our level, remount of the 9, and we're targeting recent or new highs. But I think there's a bigger idea here where you could look at a possible IPO cycle. All right, and China looks good, but it's sort of on my no trade list. I mean, how could you do it, right? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it, right? You just don't know what Trump's going to say. Maybe after they have their meeting in South Korea, which I believe is soon to come. Maybe after that we'll look at it. But, structurally, it's got a good look to it. Let's look at a couple more here. We've got ARC, our innovations, and a lot of these are speculative names, right? Some pre-revenue growth stuff in here. But it's a sign of risk on, right? When you start to see this guy run, and nice structure pullback, right? We just want to see this guy get back onto trend, would suggest an appetite for risk. And bots is another one that is pretty interesting to me here as we pull back. As long as we hold this prior high level, I think we're healthy. And, even a reversal before getting all the way down there would make higher lows here. That it would be very attractive to me. So bots back over the 9 would have me looking at a few of my favorite robotics stocks. Do remember that Tesla reports earnings this Wednesday after close, and that should move the robotics market. It just will, frankly. And just finishing up here, the last ETF that I've really got on watch is semiconductors. Have a couple that I do like, but we want to clear range. If we clear range on semis, then that's a green light, right? And these are the things that we want to happen to be a part of the story of why the market can push higher, right? You want semis participating, tech, communications, and financials would all be a very healthy look if those can resume trend. Okay, so with that, pretty light little bit of breadth there, but we're in limbo. We are currently in limbo. You guys know what we're looking for, guys. I want to at least break this neckline right here that we've been looking at, the 667. Break, confirm, show strength, some volume coming in. All right, guys, with that, let's jump to the watch list. We're going to start here with NVIDIA, and we have a textbook, triple R setting up here. Strong company in a trend backed by growing fundamentals, and we get a retracement reaction at or around our level and a remount of the 9. I think even more specifically, getting through, what is that, Tuesday, Wednesday highs right there. I really like clearing that range on NVIDIA if the market is strong and our market internals is looking good. Again, Bootcamp, I'm going to share all of this with you. It's exactly how I was able to make a little bit of money last week, is these 4 new charts that I've been working with in the last couple of months. And yeah, I'm excited to share that with you guys. It'll be a fun lesson. But back to the watch list, guys. NVIDIA is main watch for semiconductors, and then I've also got RMBS here is quite attractive to me. You get a retracement reaction at around our level. Tried to go for us on Thursday, pulled back, just indecision week. So I think this over Friday's high, if we get a good look in the market early in the week, is attractive. Again, I don't want to say it a million times, but I'm going to be quite picky and cautious until we do get our confirmation of the resumption of trend, right? I don't want to just pop up and then back into range, sort of like we did last week. It was just very choppy, and there's a lot of catalysts this week that could encourage that sort of price action. So we want to make sure we're not stepping in too early and getting chopped up. ELF has a look to it, right? Not my favorite, but we are holding the 50 and getting back over the 9. It's got a decent look to it. STX is one that is attractive. We've got a strong company in a trend backed by growing fundamentals, and we get a retracement reaction at around our level, remount of the 9. Again, you could clear Thursday, Friday's highs for a bit safer of a trade. Little tight on earnings. And CRDO here is another one that is quite attractive. We've got our retracement reaction at around our level. Remount happened on Friday. We're going to have to watch how we look heading into this. What is likely to act as a bit of a resistance zone. So maybe we get a gap up today. It's looking like we will in futures, but if we get a bit of a gap up and we hit resistance here, pull back, then maybe we could do like a red to green as our entry into CRDO. One I would like to get into, but I'm not going to force it. Palantir is one that we've been watching for a while, and as it hangs out, goes sideways just below all-time highs. It's got to look to it, guys. I think this is one that, for me, just because I'm not sure that I'm going to get one of my modeled entries, is I'm not afraid to let this guy go, right? Pull back, hold, and then, you know, maybe buy the triple R off of a move like that would be maybe what I'm looking for my entry and Palantir. But if you like flags, it's flagging. Dash is another one. This is one of the ones that I took last week, made 29% on it. And man, am I glad that I exited the day that I did, because I would have ended up losing on this trade, and that would have pissed me off a little bit. You know, really what it was is just a bit of a preemptive entry, but as I did discuss, this is why I entered right here. I was willing to take those smaller positions, was a bit of a market internal breadth that I saw intraday. And, you know, thought we were going to get a bit of a push as Trump walked those statements back early in the week, but instead we had indecision for the week. So, guys, what we're looking at now on Dash is this beautiful pullback to the prior all-time high level, the cup and handle breakout level, beautiful retracement to it, reaction off of it, back over the 9. I'll take Dash again, all right? I am not afraid to take this baby. As you can see, I take it all the time. All right, this is one of my favorite stocks to trade. It just holds structure so well, and when it goes, it tends to go. It can be shaky-ish at times, but when it breaches or resumes trend, gets back over the 9, it tends to move. So I love Dash, and I am willing to take it again. Net is one that we've been looking at as it cup and handles at all-time highs. And we had a little bit of a breakdown, nothing too concerning if we invalidate and get right back over our moving averages. This is attractive to me below highs with the push above, but the thing I don't love about Net now at this point is earnings coming up here in about a week and a half. So instead, I think I might favor PANW, Palo Alto Networks, yes, which is one I have not traded this in a while. But I do like it, okay? And we're getting, let's do the weekly real fast just so we can see the structure here. A little bit, you could say, of a cup and handle, maybe an inverse head and shoulders, couple different patterns playing out here possibly. I'll draw it for those of you that like to see drawings, but, you know, it's a terrible cup and handle drawing there, guys, but it's there, right? You know, it's a breakout, guys. It's a breakout at all-time highs with a little bit of structure, okay? And sorry, more specifically, it's a pullback after a breakout. So let me get my stuff together here, guys, and show you what I am looking at. And then you've got the inverse head and shoulders right there. And more specifically on the daily, what I also like is the shake and go of prior all-time highs. So you get the breakout, fake out, shake out a little bit, remount of the 9 here, holding structure, holding that cup and handle level or that prior all-time high level, reacting off of it, a pushback over the 9, plenty of time for earnings. I favor this slightly more than Net at this point, but I do like the RS of Net a little bit better. Good UD here on Palo Alto Networks though, and it's a Pelosi stock. That never hurts, right? TLN is one I have been looking to get into ever since somebody in Bootcamp brought this to my attention. Not sure how I missed it for this whole move, but you know, a few weeks ago it was brought to my attention, and I have been watching, looking for an entry, and we've got a strong company in a trend. Also backed by narrative, but backed by growing fundamentals. We get a retracement reaction at around the level, back over the 9. This one's pretty high up on my interest list this week. And then let's jump in, start with the ETF here. I discussed this briefly. If we can get back into range and really show strength, I'd really like to, I mean, you're buying it into resistance if you don't allow it to get back into range and above the 50s. So I may require that before I take one of these stocks, but there are a few that I like. I like JP Morgan back over the 300 area. We got a triple R setting up here on JP Morgan, retracement back into prior high levels, retracement, reaction at around our level, back over the 50 and the 9. Very attractive to me here on JP Morgan. Would also be getting over that psych level of 300 if those things matter anymore. And we've got Robinhood here with a similar look, but look, this guy's been on an absolute tear. We've traded it a few times through this move, and we've got a retracement reaction at around our level, back over the 9 on Robinhood as this looks to put in the IPO cycle. And we are getting, yes, IPO, not a box break, IPO cycle here. And guys, this is something you got to swing the bat on, okay? We need the market to align and be stable with us, but you got to swing the bat if we get this trigger over the 9 and those other things are happening. The other one that I like, and I don't know if I want to say I favor it, but I do like it. I've been watching Pay for a while. Let's look at this on the weekly. And if we can get, this is one that I think I might be able to wait to truly confirm on the ETF that we get back above the 50. If we do that and we remount these moving averages on this IPO cycle, cup and handle on pay, your boy's finally getting in here. Look at this accumulation volume, ability to hold structure, and cup and handling out below all-time highs. You know what? When is earnings? All right. I wish that wasn't so close. We may, because I'd like to hold this a bit longer term, get a bigger move, so we may need to let earnings come out and take, maybe if earnings are positive, I expect that we'll be taking a triple R coming out of that. So that's something I'll be thinking about. Man, I really liked that, but I have a feeling we're going to need to wait for the earnings report on that. I don't hold any of my short-term plays into earnings. SOFI is another one of the ones I took last week, slightly preemptive, made like 4% on it, nothing to care about. I was able to protect my entry, right? We saw that, the market just wasn't strong. It didn't break out. It couldn't get legs either way. It came right back into range. So I was slightly in profits on this, took it off the table, and we're still looking here at this back over the 9. Looking at an IPO cycle, cup and handle, all the things we like, but I don't love earnings, so that is why I'm favoring JP Morgan and Hood if we get some strength in the financial sector. And then a few more for us here. CYBR, you could align this. I favor Palo Alto Networks, but CYBR has a look to it, guys. Classic stuff here. Strong company in a trend backed by growing fundamentals. Retracement reaction at around our level. Remount is the trigger. Retracement reaction at around our level. Remount is the trigger. It's setting up. ZS is one. I believe this was a shake and go. It is. All right. So we got a all-time high breakout, fake out, shake out, back over the 9, pulled right back into structure. Guys, back over the 9. Swing the bat here plenty of times before earnings. And we've got app. Not one of my favorites because there has been, I don't remember if this was a short report, something negative came out, but the fact that it is holding structure, was not able to close any gaps and pulled back into the 50, and guys, back over last week's range would be a resumption of trend. It's what we look for. Did Wall Street view this as on sale, step in position, push it back onto trend, put them at your back, swing the bat? ANET is another one that got a little bit shaky, nothing too concerning. We had, macro situations happening. This guy's trying to break out. Another one, this is a shake and go. You get a breakout, fake out, shake out, right back into structure, made a higher low. I mean, you could consider this, but again, I always look back to the weekly as well. Guys, structurally, we are just fine here. So look, guys, we're looking at a reaction off of the 50, back over the 9. You could look at Thursday's high as our trigger here for a resumption of trend on ANET, which is one that can move well when it does go. Pretty attractive. And then we've got our precious metal sector, got pretty shaky on us. I do encourage you guys to look at where the real strength was on that. MP is one of them. All we did here was pull back into structure, right? We didn't roll back the entire move like some of these other guys did. But look, guys, this is a retracement reaction at around our level. Back over Friday's high is attractive if we get some strength in rare earths. Another one that was attractive for me here was USAR, I believe. Yeah. All right. This has got a decent look to it. Okay. This is nearly invalidating the move, right? But if we hold and get back over the 9, I think this is one that's actually a little bit more attractive to me than MP. Look at all this volume, guys. If this guy's going to go, if this is looked at as a dip buying opportunity, you get a retracement reaction, dip buying opportunity. Remount is resumption of trend. They stepped in position, especially if it happens on volume, getting us back over the 9, guys. That's a triple R trigger that I think you should consider. And then robotics, I talked about the ETF. RR is one that same sort of deal here. We're getting a retracement, a bit of a macro situation, but we're holding structure. Guys, if we make a higher low here, pulling into that prior all-time highs, holding that structure, getting back over the 9 would be an attractive way for me to maybe finally get into RR. When I did not pull the trigger back here, it has pissed me off every time I've looked at the chart, but that's all right. We're getting another setup here, and that is what these leaders, this is not exactly a leader yet. I mean, it's got a 99 RS, 1.5 UD, accumulation volume. It's got a narrative, a story behind it, changing character. Maybe it is a leader, but I don't love these cheapy stocks anymore. But look, at the end of the day, this is what these things do, right? You don't get just one chance at them, right? They continue to set up, they trend for a while, and every time they retrace on trend, you look at it. Did they step in? Did they position? Did they move it back onto trend? Back over the 9. If so, Wall Street is at your backs. Consider the trade. SYM is the other one that we're looking at here quite often. Look, I know somebody in Bootcamp, I don't want to single you out, but I know that you're in this trade with a great entry down here on a triple R setup. This is we knew this was a box breakout candidate, right? Okay, so you got your box breakout, and what do we talk about? We like to get a little piece on a triple R setup below the box breakout, or one of the other models, get us in, quarter size, let it break out, pull back, retest, hold, show strength off of the box breakout at that key level, push back higher, get back on the trend, go to full size, man. You're gonna be an average down here. Consider it. This is, you played this one perfectly. And, I know you were looking at profits right here. If you didn't take them, then do consider loading to a full size here on box breakout if we have strength in the market, and really getting a bigger move as we break out of this box in a hot sector. Volume's not fantastic, but you've got some room before earnings, and I think you've got leaps. So look, you've got quite a bit of time here, and if you've got a good average, do consider playing the box breakout. And real quick, I want to look at the Mag 7s, which I would say maybe lagging is an extreme word. A couple of them are looking pretty good, but they're certainly not the leaders of the market. It's more like AI, data centers, nuclear, freaking quantum, gold, miners. But if we're going to get a push into year end, I do expect the Mag 7s to get some legs under them as well. And I'll go ahead and get these out of here. This was a bit of a short thesis where I took a tiny loss on, as I thought maybe the market was going to break down. Didn't love that double top look there on Apple. Anyways, guys, this is triple R trigger on Apple. So this is one of the better of the Mag 7 looks for me here. And then another one I like, MSFT. This has got a good look to it as well. It's really been a tough one to get into. I'm glad I've kept myself out of it. I mean, you would have either made money on this. Yeah, you certainly would have made money on that one. I just didn't take it. I think I was in other things. I think back then I was in like Oklo, whatever, other trades, and I didn't take it. But guys, it's still hanging out and respecting structure, right? Making higher lows, back over the 9, back over last week's range. Could be an attractive look. You've got Google. I haven't looked at Google in a few days. At all-time highs, is that all-time for Google? Yeah, it is. Okay, so we're in range. The trade was a few days back, which, could not have taken that with confidence or size at the very least in last week's market environment. But look, guys, if we clear range, just wait for the first triple R coming out of it. And we've got Netflix sort of on my no trade list. We need to go into earnings and see what happened with that whole boycott Netflix thing. But another one sort of off the table for now. Meta off the table for now. These things have work to do. They're trading below their moving averages. Let them get back above, and then maybe we get our continuation into year end, where maybe these things push towards new highs and we get a triple R entry on the way towards them. But guys, I need this back over the 50. Okay, Amazon, same thing. I need this back over the 50 for me to put any conviction or size behind that position. Yeah, this one's got quite a bit of work to do for me here on Amazon chart. If you're positioning long term, that's a different story. But we're talking about 3-day to 3-month trades is what I do with my main 5 models. And then my narrative trade, sure, I do longer trades with it. Last one would be, so if I missed one of the 7, my bad. But Tesla's the last one, guys. They report on Wednesday. Don't do anything until after they report. I think it's going to weigh heavily on quite a bit. I've got a lot of noise on this chart, guys, because this is a pattern trader's Bible, Tesla. And we are doing patterns and candles and Bootcamp on Wednesday, guys. So I use Tesla as one of the stocks or one of the charts where, it's just, I don't trade this stuff that much, but I do like to use it as another reason. I trade my models, but if there is structure or patterns aligning with my model trigger, then yeah, absolutely. I like to use it as another layer of confidence in the trade. But guys, I think that's it. That's surely a long enough video, but plenty setting up here, guys. Again, one last time, wait for confirmation. Wait for the breakout, and then the confirmation would be the follow through. If you've got some strength on the breakout, some volume, most of the sector's going. If the breadth looks good on the breakout, I'm okay with a quarter size position or 2. That's what I'm looking at. I will consider a quarter size position on 2, breaking this neckline, and then maybe I can get things that are maybe earnings isn't for a few weeks or has already reported. And then we can see, did we break out two highs, pull back, hold that structure and push again? Then I could load up in those positions to full size and possibly be in an A risk profile and even take on additional positions. Gosh, I haven't been up to full risk profile, my own personal, in a long time. It's been weeks for sure. I think I was up towards full size risk in this move here. When we remounted, when we had a triple R setup on the indices back here. But I think since that, I've been doing mostly half size positions as we were rolling into the first Fed policy update. Anyways, guys, we're still navigating that. We are still in a headline sensitive environment. It is what it is. But if we can get through this month and clear some things up, historically, seasonally, November is a very good month. So guys, if we clear a couple of these things up here at the end of October and structurally we are looking sound, then I think we roll into risk profile A and we can take some swings here for an end of the year push and make some money. So guys, stay safe, manage your risks. Let's go make some money. I'll see you soon.